all of the Madden 22 ratings have officially been released. So we're going to go through all of the positions, all of the top players. We could talk about what we don't like, what we do like. Throughout this whole week, they've been dropping some of the ratings, the top 10 at each position, but now we have all of the ratings in the game. We can see all the rookies. We could see everything. Now, if you are new to the channel and you don't want to miss out on any of the future Madden 22 uploads, especially the gameplay that I'm going to be having soon, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on so you don't miss those videos when they go live. But let's get into these ratings and let's complain, because that's what we like to do when it's ratings time. So I think a lot of you probably saw the quarterbacks already today, but we're just gonna go ahead and we're going to go over them if you haven't already, and we're gonna talk about it. So of course, Mahomes comes in at 99. I think that was expected. Then you got Tom Brady at number 2 at a 97, Aaron Rodgers at a 96, Russell Wilson 94, Lamar Jackson at 91, Deshaun Watson 90, Josh Allen 88, and so on and so forth, as you could see here. So there's definitely some names that stick out here. So the first thing is, I'm honestly surprised Brady is ahead of Rodgers, and it's not because he won MVP. I hate that argument, because I mean, when's the last time that an MVP winner came in at a 99? Like the past few years, that hasn't been the case. That's not why. I just think Rodgers was a better QB last year. Obviously, he didn't go all the way and win the Super Bowl, but I'm not a big fan of, like, you know, chalking the entire Super Bowl up to the quarterback. You know, it's a team thing, but I would have had Rodgers definitely higher, like 97, 98, and I would have had Brady right behind him. Outside of that, I'm not too mad at this. Josh Allen was definitely a topic. So this is the thing, like I always say, I don't really care that much about overall. I care more about the individual ratings, but also I kind of care where the player ranks, right? I don't care about the numbers so much as where the player ranks. And I think Josh Allen is ranked accurately. I think the top 7 guys, this is right. I think most people, if you ask, they would put Josh Allen between 5 and 7, right? When you talk about Lamar, Deshaun Watson, and Josh Allen, I think those guys are very, very debatable. I think the top 4 guys are, like, you can't really argue that. Like, those are for sure the top 4 guys for right now. And then after that, you get a little bit more debate going on. Dak Prescott, before he was hurt, was having a really, really, really good year. So I think that he's about right. I probably would have bumped Josh Allen, though, to like the 90s. I feel like what he did last year kind of deserves the, you know, the 90 recognition, the arbitrary 90 number, but, you know, it is what it is. I think his placement is pretty accurate. Kyler Murray seems like a guy that's always too low. 82 just doesn't feel like it, you know, accurately represents what he does on the field. Justin Herbert, I think, is fine. He had a great rookie year, but we know they don't usually overrate the second year guys too much. But I think, you know, you could have maybe bumped Herbert a little bit. Other than that, I'm not really too mad. I saw people say that Trevor Lawrence shouldn't be above Burrow, but the way I see it, and I say this as a Joe Burrow stan because I'm an LSU fan, they're probably both being judged off of their raw prospect. You know, like they're being judged as prospects is what I mean to say, because Burrow only played 5 NFL games, so he really, you know, you can't really judge too much of what he's done in the NFL already. And if you're judging him as prospects, people would take Trevor Lawrence as a prospect. If they came out the same year in the draft, Trevor Lawrence would have been drafted first. So I think that's why he's higher, but how they play this year is really going to determine what happens there. Now we got the halfbacks. This was already a controversial thing earlier in the week. A lot of people think Henry should be 99 for 2000. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I think if you make him 99, you have to make McCaffrey 99 as well, because as they've said, the ratings are not just based off last year. They're based off of what the player is at full health. And McCaffrey missed a year because of injury, but if you go back to 2019, what he did, only 2 other players in the history of this league have done. So until he proves otherwise, it just doesn't seem right to not have him as a top guy. But if you want to reward Henry for doing something that only 8 other people in the history of the league have done, you know, maybe they should have both been 99. But outside of that, I'm not really mad at where the top running backs rank. Now, when we get to the lower, not lower, but like the 11 through 20 range, I'm actually not too mad at these either. You got Kareem Hunt at 87, Chris Carson at 87, which seems about right. James Robinson, solid rookie year at 86. Raheem Mostert at 86. I'm actually surprised they showed him that much love. Austin Eckler, you know, you can nitpick. Maybe he deserves to be in that 87, 88 range if you care about, you know, the arbitrary number whole deal. I am surprised at Jonathan Taylor at 83. I feel like he should be a little higher. He was, like, to me, actually the best rookie running back. So I would have him. If James Robinson is 86, I would at least have Jonathan Taylor as that as well. Like, Kenyon Drake's 83, and like, I can't sit here and say that I would take Kenyon Drake any day of the week over Jonathan Taylor. But then as we keep going, what's surprising is David Montgomery's only at 82, and that feels really low as well. I can't sit here and say that David Montgomery's not a top 20 running back. That doesn't sound right to say. But those are kind of the names that really stand out. I would probably have Montgomery higher and Jonathan Taylor higher for sure. Now, we already saw the top wide receivers earlier in the week, but we're going to look at the guys outside of the top 10. So the top 10 ends at Allen Robinson down here at the 90. So of course you got Adams in the 99 club, and then you got, You know, Hopkins, Tyreek, and Stephon Diggs, you know, they're a few good games away from being 99 as well. I mean, we literally could have like 4 99 overall wide receivers in this game if all 4 of these guys continue the play that they did last year. Without a doubt. Now, as you start at number 11, you've got a few guys tied at 89 here. You've got DK Metcalf, which seems about right. I think the only thing really keeping him down more than anything else is he does drop the ball a little bit. That's kind of like the only thing that off the top of my head that I would think is kind of maybe holding him down just a tad. But he still got the 95 speed, which is really good. You got Odell still at 89. I think some people think he's too high because, you know, he's had the injury problems. But again, at full health, Odell's still a top receiver in the league. So if he stays healthy this year, we'll see what they do. Terry McLaurin at 89. I like seeing him get respect. He is a super underrated, and he hasn't really had good QB play either. You've got Adam Thielen at 88. Ridley at 88, you can maybe argue is a little low. I think last 2 years he's played at a level that you would think is like a 90s tier type guy. You know, Tyler Lockett 88. I think is debatable. I'm not too mad at it, but I think some people might want to see that higher. Chris Godwin, 87. Justin Jefferson at 87 had a historic rookie season, but again, more times than not, they're not going to overrate the second-year guy. They're going to make him show it again, so give him 6 to 8 weeks. If he keeps doing what he did last year, easily he'll be in the 90s. Robbie Anderson and Robert Woods at 87, to me, feels a little too high, especially when you keep going here and you see that A.J. Brown's only an 86. A lot of people take issue with this. A.J. Brown is not a top 20 rated receiver in the game, and that just feels wrong. I would definitely, personally, have him over guys like Robert Woods and Robbie Anderson, so you at least make him an 87 or 88 would seem a lot more respectful to me, but that's really the main guy that I have issue with more than anything is A.J. Brown just definitely feels too low. Kenny Golladay, Tyler Boyd at 85, Will Fuller at 85. Some people probably would say DJ Moore might be a little too low as well. I think you could argue he could be bumped up a little bit, but other than that, I'm okay with a lot of these rankings right here. Here are the top tight ends. We saw the top 10 earlier in the week. Travis Kelce, 99 club. George Kittle, 96. I would honestly have George Kittle like 97, 98. Again, it's an arbitrary number, but it just seems more fitting. But when you get outside the top 10, so the cutoff for the top 10 is Dallas Goedert. Technically, Jared Cook would still be considered top 10 because he's tied for the 10th spot at 84 overall. I still don't forgive him for the fumble in the playoffs for my Saints. So, yeah. But anyway, then you got Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, Noah Fant at 83. I saw a lot of people that thought Noah Fant should be in the top 10. I don't necessarily agree. I mean, he's literally one overall outside of the top 10. He's got a ton of talent. I feel like he's got top 5 potential. I just don't feel like he's truly shown that yet, but also his QB situation has not been very good either. You got Kyle Rudolph, Tyler Higbee, Jonnu Smith at 81. I feel like that's a guy that could potentially move up a lot this year. Kyle Pitts starts off at 81 because he's just one of the best prospects we've ever seen, so we'll see what he does. Robert Tonyan was a name I saw brought up a lot because he had a lot of touchdowns last year, but just racking up a lot of touchdowns alone at the tight end position doesn't necessarily make you an elite tight end, but he is in the 80s, so he is like, that's still a good rating. We'll see if he moves that up a little more this year. Now we're just going to group all the offensive linemen together and just kind of go over the top guys. So we've got the guards, the centers, the tackles all mixed together. So the highest overall lineman is Zach Martin. Absolute beast at a 98. He could potentially hit that 99 club this year. David Bakhtiari at a 96. Quentin Nelson at a 95. Absolute stud. Teron Armstead at a 95 as well. Trent Williams at a 94, Ronnie Stanley at a 93, Brandon Brooks at a 92, Rodney Hudson at a 91, Jason Kelsey at a 91, Tyron Smith at a 91, Ollie Marpet at a 90, Laramie Tunzel at an 89. I feel like that seems a little low. Richie Incognito at an 89, Ryan Jensen at an 89, Ryan Ramczyk at an 89 feels very low as well. And this isn't Saints bias, and a lot of you know I'm a Saints fan, but that just feels low. He definitely should be like low 90s type guy. Tristan Wirfs, second year guy already at 89, but he definitely dominated as a rookie, so he definitely earned that. Wyatt Teller at 89, Corey Linsley at 88, Frank Ragnow at 88, Joe Bitonio at 88, Lane Johnson at 88, Brian Bulaga at 88, Brandon Sheriff at 88, I skipped him, Lael Collins at 87, Ryan Kelly at 87, Alex Mack at 86, Andrew Whitworth at 86, Elton Jenkins, I always say his name wrong, forgive me, 86. Shaq Mason at 86. A lot of Patriots right here. Trent Brown, David Andrews, 86, 85. Roger Saffold at 85. Taylor Lewan at 85. Taylor Moulton at 85. Braden Smith at 84. Brandon Linder at 84. Garrett Bowles at 84. JC Treader at 84. Joe Thuney at 84. And Dwayne Brown at an 83. Now we're going to look at the left ends and right ends. Keep in mind, some of these guys play more interior. Some of these guys play on the edge. It just depends on their scheme. I wish that Madden would kind of update the terminology to be more modern, because you got D ends and linebackers who essentially play the same position, and then you got D ends and D tackles that essentially play the same position, but it's like the way they're listed just kind of makes it confusing. So, of course, Aaron Donald's a 99. We already knew that. Myles Garrett at a 98. I think he's going to get into the 99 this year. J.J. Watt at a 94. Everybody always has issue with J.J. Watt still being ranked high because they're like, oh, he's only got 5 sacks. Like, stop with the box score, guys. Like, sacks, I mean, are great, but that doesn't mean anything. He was the most double-teamed edge player in the league last year, okay? Teams aren't double teaming you more than anybody else in the league if you're washed. That's not how it works. They wouldn't bother double teaming you. He's still very good against the run. He still wins against those double teams more than a lot of other people. He's still a very, very elite player, even though he doesn't look like, because you're so used to seeing J.J. Watt in his prime, he seems washed, but still compared to a lot of other people in the league, he is still elite. Anyway, that's my rant. Cameron Jordan, 93. Cameron Hayward, 92. Calais Campbell, 90. Nick Bosa, 90. Danielle Hunter, saw a lot of people complain about him, so he's just right outside kind of that top 10 guys. He's at an 89. He'll probably be in the 90s pretty easily as the year goes on if he stays healthy. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he played last year. I think he might have opted out. So, I mean, if he plays, he's going to shoot up easily. Stephon Tuitt, 89. Akeem Hicks, 88. Grady Jarrett, 88. Brian Burns, another guy I saw a lot of people saying was getting disrespected. I think 87 is fair. You could argue maybe he could be a little higher, though. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is a guy at 87 that could have been a little higher. Chase Young, second-year guy, 86, a pretty fair rating. I think he's a guy that can shoot up quick because just too much raw talent. Brandon Graham at 85. Ndamukong Suh at 85. Eric Armstead at 84. Clowney all the way down to 84. He's really come down quite a bit. Leonard Williams was a guy I saw a lot of people complain about as well because he did have a really good season last year, only at 84, but I think the issue is that was like his real breakout season, so it kind of took him a while to finally be the guy that he was drafted to be. So if he puts on another season like that, I think you're looking at like a high 80s guy, maybe low 90s if he does that again. I think with him, they want to see more consistency first. Carl Lawson as at an 83 for the Jets. Jeffrey Simmons at an 83, Jerry Hughes at an 83. I would say that feels maybe a little too low. D Ford at an 82, Emmanuel Ogbah at an 82, Hassan Reddick at an 82, Michael Brockers at an 82, Montez Sweat at an 82, Dexter Lawrence at an 81, Frank Clark at an 80 seems kind of low too. Shelby Harris at an 80, Trey Hendrickson at an 80. And then we got a bunch of names here kind of rounding out to 78, 79. I'll give you a second to pause the video and look at it, but we're going to jump to the next position. All right, so at a D tackle, we got Fletcher Cox, 94, Chris Jones, 92, DeForest Buckner, 92, Michael Pierce, 91. I saw some people say he was too high, but I think he opted out last year as well. But the year before that, I mean, he played at a pretty high level, so I don't really see an issue with him still being high just because he opted out. But Kenny Clark at an 89, Jonathan Allen at an 88, Vita Vea at an 88, Daron Payne at an 87, Matthew Ioannidis, I always say his name wrong, so please don't shoot me, comment section, 86. I mean, that's a lot of guys for Washington. And then you got Chase Young. You got a lot of hogs on that line. All right, now we're going to look at the outside linebackers. Keep in mind, again, because of the terminology that's used in the game, some of these guys are pass rushers. A lot of these guys are going to be pass rushers. Some of these guys are stand-up linebackers, which are more comparable to the middle linebackers, honestly. So, Khalil Mack, 96. Chandler Jones, 94. TJ Watt, 94. A lot of people, we already know about that. We think he should be a little bit higher for sure. Von Miller, 93. Joey Bosa, 92. All these guys are edge rushers. Now, Darius Leonard comes in at 89, so he's going to be comparable to the middle linebackers, and I think he ranks 6th or 7th among the stand-up linebackers, which I think is about right. I think a lot of people usually think Darius Leonard's underrated. I think this number's about right. There's some things that he does almost better than anybody else, but there's other things in his game that he doesn't do as well. So as some of the guys ahead of him, which we'll get to when we get to the middle linebackers. Zadarius Smith at 89. Shaquille Barrett at 88 was a guy people thought should be in the top 10 for edge rushers, so he's just like right outside, because I think Zadarius Smith is the 10th highest edge rusher, so Shaquille Barrett's just literally 1 point outside the top 10, so I don't think that's too crazy. Bradley Chubb, 85, Jason Pierre-Paul at 84, Josh Allen at 82, Matthew Judon at 82, Bud Dupree switching teams at an 81. Rashawn Gary at an 81. Trey Flowers at an 81. Harold Landry at an 80. Kyle Van Noy at an 80. Leighton Vander Esch, another stand-up linebacker, at an 80. Matt Milano at an 80, and Preston Smith at an 80. So here we have the middle linebackers. I think this one's going to cause a lot of debate for sure. So again, remember, Darius Leonard would fit in right under here, right under Eric Kendricks in terms of these type of guys. So Fred Warner at a 94, the highest rated linebacker. I'm actually really glad to see they did that. He's the best linebacker in football as far as I'm concerned. There's obviously some debate. I think him, David, and Wagner, it's a pretty good debate. I honestly would have had Warner a little higher, more like 96-ish, and then I would have probably bumped, I think Wagner's too low, honestly. I think I would have like Wagner and David about even, and I feel like they would be more like 94, 95 if I'm, again, assigning a number that I feel like feels more appropriate, and I would bump Warner up a couple. Demario Davis at a 91, he comes in as a top 5 guy. I like that. He's been, ever since he came to the Saints, he's been a top linebacker. Eric Kendricks at a 90, I could say that I feel like him and Davis are pretty, I mean, they're one off. I think they're pretty comparable, like equal skill players. So, I mean, I think they could maybe be the same rating. Roquan Smith getting some respect. I like that. I think Bears fans would maybe want him to be in the 90s, but I think this is actually a lot of respect for Roquan Smith, who's still a young player. I mean, you could maybe argue you could bump him up a little. Donta Hightower at 87, Deion Jones 86, Miles Jack 86, Devin White at 85. I saw some people say that this feels low. And again, LSU fan here, so I'm actually a little bit biased towards Devin White in a way, but I think that's right, because I don't think he's been like consistently like that good yet. Like, he's good, like, don't twist it, but he was like really good in the postseason, right? Like in the postseason, he was on a whole nother level. I think he was actually one of the big reasons the Bucs were able to go all the way, because he was on another level in the postseason. But up until that, like, he had been a little inconsistent, so I don't think this is like crazy. I think if he can play anywhere like he did in the postseason, he'll easily jump up to the 90s like halfway through the season through updates. So I wouldn't be too mad at that personally. CJ Mosley at 84, Rashaan Evans at 84, Tremaine Edmonds at 83, Jaylen Brown 82, Alexander Johnson at 81. And then, you know, kind of rounding out the bottom guys here, Blake Martinez. He's a guy a lot of people usually like to see higher because he gets a lot of tackles, but he's not like the greatest linebacker, but he's a guy that a lot of people think is way better than he is. But anyway, it's cornerback time. Now, we saw the top 10 already, but this is always a list that gets people heated. Now, I'm really curious to see who's coming after the top 10, because cornerback is such a debatable position. I think they got the top like 7 guys right. Some people think Xavier Howard should be higher. Already talked about it. I think maybe if you wanted to switch him with Humphrey, but I think the way they place these guys is pretty accurate. You definitely can debate like Gilmore, Alexander. Like, you can debate some of these guys, right? You know, it's a lot of preference going into this. But here we come in at the number 11 spot. So really tied for 10th is Marcus Peters with Darius Slay. And then you got Chris Harris at 87, Kyle Fuller at 87. So I'm actually surprised they gave Marshawn Lattimore 87. I thought they would give him like an 85 or something, because he had some struggles last year. Like, when he's really good, but when he's bad, he's really bad at times. Like, he's kind of hot and cold. But just like I said in my other video, like, when you get to like Denzel Ward down to like this range here, like, you can debate a lot of these guys. Like, it's really preference, and that's why they're so close. There's so many 88s, 87s, 86s. You got Bryce Callahan, Casey Hayward Jr., 86, William Jackson, a third, 86. J.C. Jackson at 85 does feel low. I think he is like in this 88 range for me. Like, not number, but like with, I don't really care, like I said, number-wise, but like with this group of cornerbacks, I feel like J.C. Jackson's up there. And you got Shaquille Griffin at an 85. Then you got Bradley Roby at an 84, Darius Williams at an 84, Jason Verrett at an 84, Kenny Moore at 84. I think maybe you could argue he's a tad bit low. AJ Bouye getting a little bit older now. He's kind of regressing a bit, but he's at an 83. Carlton Davis at an 83. You might have some people that want to see him higher. Desmond King at an 83, Jonathan Jones at an 83, Byron Murphy at an 82, Dante Jackson at 82, Jimmy Smith 82, Mike Hilton 82, Dory Jackson 81, Joe Hayden 81, Patrick Peterson's an old guy now 81. I thought he was getting changed to safety. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's going to safety. Xavier Rhodes at an 81. I don't know about that, because I thought he moved up quite a bit last year, because he actually had a really good year last year. Like, he really actually had a really good year, and like the years before that he was playing awful, but that kind of seems low based on what he did last year. Then you got Jamel Dean at an 80, K'Wan Williams at an 80, L'Jarius Sneed at an 80, and Ronald Darby at an 80. Now we're going to look at the safeties. We're combining free safeties and strong safeties together. So some of these guys play different. Some play in the box, some play center field, some move all around, like Matthew and Baker, excuse me, who are the top two. They move all around the field, right? So we kind of know who the top guys are because we saw those yesterday. Some people obviously saying that Minkah Fitzpatrick's a little bit too low, which I don't disagree with. I think you got to put him up in this range, kind of where Jesse Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons are. But I do think the top 10 guys for the most part are about right. Then you got Derwin James right behind the top 10 at 88 now. His rookie season was amazing, and if he could stay on the field and duplicate that, I think he would be a top 3 safety in the game pretty easily, but he's missed the last 2 years, so he hasn't been able to prove the consistency beyond his rookie year, so he's pretty much been sitting at the same rating since then. Kevin Byard at 88 is another guy that's like very underrated. Like, he's an arguable top 10 guy, which I mean, the ratings say that, right? Because if top 10 ends at 89 and then the next 2-3 guys are at 88, you're pretty much saying, like, you know, all these guys right here are pretty debatable. Like, you could definitely say Kevin Byard's top 10. You could say Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer or our top 10 guys. It really is very debatable after you get outside kind of the most elite top guys, in my opinion. John Johnson at 86, I feel like maybe you could argue he could be in the 88 range too, but still a good rating. Kareem Jackson at 86, Marcus May at 85, feels maybe a little too low. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson getting a little bit of love at 84. Marcus Williams and Jimmy Ward at 84 both feel kind of low. I think Marcus Williams at 84 seems really low. He had his best season by far. He definitely had a lot of inconsistencies before, but last year he really kicked it up. So 84 for some of these guys seem low. Like, I feel like 87-ish range seems more appropriate. Kickers are people too, apparently, but they never really rate kickers high, right? And you really don't need to be rated high to be a kicker. It just matters what's your kick power and kick accuracy. Justin Tucker usually #1, right? 87 overall, but it's like 99 kick power, 97 accuracy, right? Like that's all that matters as a kicker. None of the other stuff matters. Jason Sanders 85, Buckner 84, Lambo 83, Gano 82, Boswell 81, Koo at 81, right? I mean, the overalls don't matter. I mean, you kick power is what matters. 99, 94, 97, 96, 99 for Graham Gano. Like, honestly, 99 kick power and 89 accuracy, you're the best kicker in the game, because accuracy is just not hard for kicking in Madden. 99 power is something that, you know, you can't teach the power, right? So 99 power. The two guys that have 99 are the guys that you want on your team, right? So that's the ratings. Let me know what you disagree with below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time.